Dynamite.
Getting too old for this shit. It's me. It's PLD.
And I'm Richard-Erik Jarvi.
And I'm Matty, and this is Class Action.
The classiest movie show on the interwebs.
Wow, we're really kind of low key today. We had this conversation. I'm going to put it out there. Conversation about maybe we sometimes talk over each other a little bit. Maybe we should try to calm that down. And so I feel like we're all a little hesitant all of a sudden. But this is not the franchise to be hesitant in. We have a big action-packed, blasting stuff, so we gotta find our middle ground here. But how we all?
I have a proposition. Let's use like the walkie-talkie way. We go whenever someone finishes speaking, it's over.
Over.
Okay.
I like that.
Okay.
And when the conversation is over, you have to say over again. Over.
Or we could do it like we used to do when we were kids, and like whoever's holding the pencil gets to talk.
Well, the thing is, that's my bit. So I'm always holding a pen in my hands. Somebody actually said that to me once. I never even realized I did that, but then
I think I remember. I think it was Jake.
It might have been Jake.
I think Jake said it to you once.
And I was like, I do always hold this pen while I talk, don't I? It's just something to do with my hands, I guess. I don't know. Well, I don't know. Either way, we are here. We are in the third week on the battle of this series. We have Die Hard versus Lethal Weapon. And we are doing the trilogy. We are doing Die Hard 3, Die Hard with a Vengeance, versus Lethal Weapon 3. We got some people in the chat already. Kelly saying it does sound like Jake. Yes. And Ryan Carmichael from work. Die Hard. Well, Die Hard versus Lethal Weapon. Yes. But this one, I don't know what to find out. Depending on these categories as well. And of course, Galactus as well. Does sound like a Jake thing to notice. I agree. But I don't know about you guys. But I had seen the Die Hard movies more recently than I had seen Lethal Weapon. And I'm loving the rediscovering Lethal Weapon. But I had a very different experience with Lethal Weapon 3 this week. I wanted to say that I watched about the first hour of Lethal Weapon 3 and I had to pause it. So I was doing something. I had to come back the next day. And man, what a tale of two worlds. Because I was watching the first part of this movie and I was not actually much of a fan. I was like, something about it. It was like too much over the top. It almost felt like it was a parody of itself. I'm like, this doesn't seem grounded at all. And then the second half of this film is flat out amazing in so many different ways. So it was a weird dichotomy for me. I don't know. Did you guys have any fun experiences while watching these two films this weekend?
It's interesting. I feel kind of similar in that maybe it's because I've seen it so many times now that I know what's coming, and it was like, okay, it was a little bit slow to start before we do get to the crash bang wallop of everything in Lethal Weapon 3. And I'm so used to it just being at all times. But this one, and I said this, I did a little IG live yesterday. I said, it feels like this is the most tepid one of the four.
Yeah, actually.
This is the more character-driven one of the four.
The first one is very character-driven as well, but there is a lot of depth to this character, this character parts, especially with Murtaugh and the sequences towards the middle and the end there. It's really deep for this kind of movie. Although, to be frank, that's actually Lethal Weapon's kind of like ace in the hole. I feel like Lethal Weapon's been like this buddy cop. It's a buddy cop franchise. It's probably the buddy cop franchise. It's got the over-the-top action beats of the 80s action movie. And yet it deals with some serious shit at times. And it's kind of surprising. It always surprises me, even though I've seen these movies a million times, it still surprises me how deep it sometimes gets. Whereas Die Hard is not at all deep. It's a very surface level for the most part. It's pretty much a big surface level. Although, interestingly enough, Die Hard with a Vengeance, I mentioned this before, was originally developed to be a Lethal Weapon movie. And if you watch that knowing that, you totally can see it. You can totally see McClane and Zeus being Riggs and Murtaugh in a different kind of fashion. Like, obviously, it's been, by the time it got from the initial concept to the screen, it was a lot different, but the germs are still there, or the germ of the idea is still there.
But I think it works. I think because Die Hard has been sort of upping the stakes each movie. It's gotten bigger and bigger, so we kind of got out of that, small enclosed space action movie thing, and now it's like an all around town, friggin' not globe trotting, what's city trotting action romp or something like that. But yeah, I actually had forgotten all about the fact that this was supposed to be a Lethal Weapon movie. Now, having watched it, I can totally see it. Totally see it. But still, there's something about a Die Hard movie that makes it a Die Hard movie. I don't know, if it was a Lethal Weapon movie, it would have been a way different movie. I still feel like that.
Yeah, because I think at its crux, I just recorded 2 Mediocre White Dudes on film with PJ Campbell right before the show, about an hour before the show, and we mentioned Lethal Weapon about some ideas about it. I think the difference between a Lethal Weapon and a Die Hard specifically is Lethal Weapon is very proactive in terms of Riggs and Murtaugh are seeking down crime or seeking down this issue, whatever, whereas John McClane always gets something thrust upon him. And that's the way this phase was too. He's in Die Hard with a Vengeance. He is an alcoholic. One step from being an alcoholic, as he points out and said it too.
Yeah, one step.
One step from an alcoholic on suspension. Got a massive hangover, and then Simon comes knocking. So it's just that's where the Die Hard still stays true to its own, because this is, for the first time, you're not in a building, you're not in an airport, you're not caught in this kind of you're in all of New York City. So not just that small enclosed space anymore, but it still has that kind of everyman feel of, what is happening to me? God, that kind of thing. Ed, good to see you in the chat, of course, Ed Haskell in there, Yarrow. Let's get into, we have, of course, on Class Action, we take these two items, these 2 movies. In this case, we're doing the franchise battles here and there. Actually, we have actually done franchise battles entirely on its own, but we are actually doing the intricacies of each entry into the sequel, each first entry, each second entry, and now, of course, the third entry into the franchises against each other. Put them up in 5 custom-made categories, and we let them duke it out to the battle and see who wins and who is in charge and who goes and gets put into jail and put on death row. I don't know. We haven't decided yet. But let's talk about our custom-made categories this week. We changed it up a little bit because of what we were doing. Specifically, we didn't want Better Heroes, because we've done Better Heroes for 2 movies in a row. There's only so many ways you can come up with putting John McClane up against Riggs and Murtaugh. It didn't have to happen anymore. So we got that. Instead, we're going to slide in the Better Sidekick category, which is a very interesting category for this particular film. Because you have, of course, Sam Jackson coming in to be John McClane's sidekick in this one. Lethal Weapon 3 also has not only the return of Leo Getz, but also has Rene Russo, which is, honestly speaking, to me, Lethal Weapon 3's secret sauce. I'm going to tell you that. That's a little spoiler for my for some of my conversation. But we have better villain, because it is a different villain each time. Better story. In the better story, we can talk about why is it a good sequel as an overall story of the film and how it fits into the franchise. We got better action sequences, action pieces. And, of course, the favorite from last time, the better one-liners, where we're just going to start spitting out our favorite bits of dialogue, so to speak. But before we get to that, we do have a game we do like to play. It's a new game based on the ashes of an old game. I have a wheel.
You have a wheel.
I have a wheel of actors and actresses. It is a digital wheel, but yet it is still a good wheel. And on that wheel, we have actors and actresses, and we're going to spin that wheel. And for each film, we're going to spin that wheel, and whatever it comes up on, we are going to either put that person in an existing role in Die Hard with a Vengeance and Lethal Weapon 3, or if we have the chutzpah to come up with a new character on the spot, then we will do that.
Question. Is Ed Harris on the wheel this week?
My friends, Ed Harris is always on the wheel. That is where the game will always be as a respect to where this game came from. Ed Harris is every week going to be on the wheel. And I just also want to quickly shout out my fellow mediocre white dude in the chat, PJ.
He's
Campbell.
watching.
Good to see you. He's watching us. He's very opinionated on these. So without further ado, let's take a look.
Really?
Let's take a look at the wheel. Jarvi has no idea about that. On the wheel this week, we have similars from last week with 2 additions because we used 2 of them. We got Ed Harris, Denzel Washington, Halle Berry, Jerry B, Tom Cruise, Margot Robbie, Nicolas Cage, and Charlize Theron. So without further ado, if you guys are ready, if you boys are ready,
yeah, let's go.
Let's spin that.
Why do you have Ed Harris already on there? Like
that's highlighted. Just the way it comes. That's just the way it comes. That's it's not me. It's the wheel's choice. I can't blame them. All right, and the spin is in.
Oh, that was a close one.
Charlize Theron. Okay.
Are we going to get 2 female back to back? I wonder.
Okay. Oh, I did. I'm sorry, PJ. I did say Bruce Campbell was supposed to be on this week, but you know what happened, PJ? We had 2 actresses, so I was going to fill it in with 2 actresses. If the next actor that comes off the wheel, Bruce Campbell will be in the wheel that week. I promise. All right. So Charlize Theron, I'm going to give it to you first, Jarvi, because I like it best when you are under pressure. So Charlize Theron in Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Die Hard. I was thinking of it's a Die Hard one I was thinking of. I feel like it's going to be the easy one, though. I think I would put her in as the Katja character, who was sort of the henchwoman for Simon.
Yeah.
She had not much to do. If Charlize was in the role, she'd have way more to do. But because she's a proven action star, she's got a freaking commanding presence on screen. So I mean, all the way. I think you definitely have to give that character more to do, though, because I think the actress who played her, Sam Phillips, she just gave like glaring looks at the screen. Didn't have a lot of lines. You'd have to beef up her role for Charlize.
She did have a great dance, though, a dance of death, where she had the knives going with the one there, the bank guy.
I have to admit, I fell asleep in the final part of the movie. I don't remember that one.
Well, that was like mid part of the movie, man. That's part of the Federal Reserve part where she like.
Oh, she was there. Okay.
And she jumps in, she does the knife, and then she's
got like the curved knives, hasn't she? And she's like dancing with them. Yeah, not good.
I enjoyed it. I want to say Reefus is in the chat. Hey guys, is PLD happy that the Packers didn't make the playoffs? Of course I am. Of course I am.
What do you have against the Packers?
I'm a Bears fan. It's like being a Red Sox fan and the Yankees. You can't like them. My favorite team is the Bears and whoever's playing the Packers.
Question.
Yes. Answer.
Are the Bears from Chicago?
That is correct. The Chicago Bears.
You're from New York.
Yes. And I also like the Boston Red Sox. I don't like any New York teams, honestly speaking. It's just who I am.
Fair enough.
All right. They're smart ass there. Matty Gunner trying to get me underneath there. You can go next.
Hey, I don't understand what you Americans call football that you only use your feet for like 2% of the game. Regardless, that's a different conversation for a different podcast. Charlize Theron in Die Hard with a Vengeance. This is a tough one. I feel like, with all due respect to Jeremy Irons, the brother of the villain thing's been done so many times. I want to see the sister.
That's an interesting point. I mean, Kelly W. also agrees with you there, Hans. As a sister.
Kelly's smart. Kelly, me and Kelly, that was Patico, like same brain, hive mind.
Interesting call, though. It does seem like it'd be kind of cool, but I'm gonna just jump ahead with you a little bit and say I do like that idea, but I don't want to get rid of Jeremy Irons either. So I'm gonna put them both on. I'm actually gonna combine your two. And say you're going to put her in the sidekick role of Simon Peter Gruber, but it is another Gruber. So Jeremy Irons and Charlize Theron are twins.
Oh,
they're twins, siblings of of Alan Rickman's Hans Gruber. So it becomes even more. It might. Well, then again, considering what happens during that movie, during Die Hard with a Vengeance, it does seem like we're getting into more of a House the Dragon situation there. But you know what? That's all the rage right now. That's all the rage with the Game of Thrones. We're gonna have a Game of Thrones Die Hard style. So we're gonna have the twins who are also lovers try to take out John McClane.
No, don't like that.
Don't
like that.
Nope.
It kind of makes sense because she's kind of freaky. So at least the Sam Phillips Katia character is it? So the Katia character that we're kind of basing Charlize on in a way is kind of freaky. So it makes a little bit of sense that they do that way. So, all right, let's move on.
You'd have to keep Charlize as old as she is put into, because that way she's probably around the same age as Jeremy Irons.
Yeah, if you went back, obviously she'd be a lot younger. I was kind of thinking more of just. I never really think about the.
But you can drop her now in boom.
There you go. All right, let's move on to Lethal Weapon. Who are we going to put in Lethal Weapon now? Let's see. So let the wheel decide. Does P.J. Campbell get his wish, and Bruce Campbell can be in next week if we get a male? Really wants to see Charlize in there again. We're not going to do it. We're going to do another one. We already used Charlize once, so.
Come on, Tishy.
Oh, it's Ed Harris, which means he doesn't get replaced. Oh,
shocker.
I got to figure out something for PJ. I'll have to put him in anyway next week. All right. So you got to put Ed Harris, the greatest character actor of all time, in Lethal Weapon 3. Matty, I'm going to throw it to you first.
You know what? Put him in as Travis.
Oh, well, that's, honestly, that's
Jack Travis
one, right?
Put him in as Jack Travis.
Because quite
there is an easier one.
What? I forget. What's the actor's name who plays Jack Travis?
Jack Travis. It is, yes, Stuart Wilson.
This is kind of a spoiler alert for a later category. Wasn't a fan.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to spoiler alert too. He's my least favorite villain in the Lethal Weapon franchise for sure. And it's not his fault. It's not the actor's fault. It really, honestly, is written badly.
Yeah.
Because I just don't like his character. He does a good job with what he's given. He's just not given a whole hell of a lot. That's the problem. So that makes sense. I mean, Ed Harris would definitely pump up that role a bit. But I'll let you go the easier, Matty, since you went first. Jarvi, you said you had another one that might be better for it, though.
No, an easier one, but I kind of don't want to use that one because I feel like if you put him as Captain Ed Murphy, that's sort of like the role that he would have actually played. But
that's good.
But I want to see. I'm gonna just switch him in because we usually never do that. I'm gonna switch him into Martin Riggs. Have a freaking mullet wearing Ed Harris, who's freaking off his hinges, just walking around, spitting good lines, saving dogs. Saving dogs. That. Yep. Yes,
he does save dogs. Yeah, Riggs actually heard you last week, I think, there, Matty. Even though the film was made years later. Specifically was made for you to stop for the dog, and we kill people, we don't kill dogs. Ed Harris as Rene Russo, William Harold says, and you know what? I can't get that out of my mind now. That'd be great.
The leg kick? Harris leg kick?
And Reefism saying Ed Harris is the lead antagonist would be great in Lethal Weapon 3. Absolutely. That's what makes it easier. So, I mean, so what can I do then? You already went with Jack Travis. You're going with Captain. Oh, no, you didn't want to go Captain Murray. So you're going to go.
I went Riggs.
You went with Riggs instead. So I should go with Captain Ed Murphy because that's the easiest one, right? But I don't want to. I don't want to either.
Is there any other way to go?
Is there any way to go? Maybe I'll have to make him a smaller role. Maybe let me see. Oh, maybe I'm gonna have him as Leo Getz's boss.
Oh my god!
He runs the real estate. He runs the real estate business. And Leo Getz has to report to him. And Ed Harris shows up on scene, and someone even Leo Getz is afraid of, and he tries to spit his way out of it. And Harris doesn't take any of his shit.
Like the Alec Baldwin in where he plays the realtor. What's the movie?
Glengarry Glen Ross.
Yeah, Glengarry. Yeah, that's one.
And there's a little sequence there where he gets on Leo Getz for that. I like that idea. Sweet.
I just had a good one come to my mind. This isn't my official pick, but the head of internal affairs.
Oh, that's not bad, actually. Yeah, the guy who's with Lorna. God, what's his name? It's
Kind of a
Forget his name.
forgettable character, but that way you can make him memorable.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the best way to do it in some of those things. So that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I like that role. I like that idea. So how about Ed Harris as the director of Rian's film shoot? That's actually good too. Except for he wouldn't go down easily at a Riggs. Riggs couldn't knock Ed Harris out like that so easily. So
what is there a Bears in Die Hard sequel? What the fuck's PJ talking about?
He's talking about
Bear
the better
Die Hard.
The better Die Hard.
No,
sequel.
he said Bear. He said Bear. What's
I think
the matter with you, PJ?
It's actually the Die Hard sequel that's coming out called Cocaine Bear Die Hard.
Fuck!
Oh yes, sir. That's coming out.
To say that. That is coming out soon,
Can we just review the trailer? The bear does a line off a dude's leg, does a line.
Yes, he does. I love that trailer so much. That's gonna be such a fucking great movie. Ray Liotta, we just salute you for that's your final role. All right. Let's move on and let's actually get to the crux of the matter. We have our categories in place. Let's kick it off with better sidekicks. I will start with this, if you will.
Damn it.
I'm going to take this and run with it. All right, look.
I just don't want to start better action.
Okay, that's fine. Better sidekicks for this one. I went into this thinking it without having rewatched them any recently. I'm like, well, this is probably going to be Die Hard 3 pretty easily because Sam Jackson is a great sidekick for this role. And he really adds so much to the franchise. I almost feel like he's just one of the bigger parts of the franchise, despite him only being in one of the movies. Love it so much. And then I watched them, and I was like thinking to our side, what do we have on Lethal Weapon side? I don't even love Leo Getz in this one. I'm not going to lie. Leo's fine, but there's not a whole lot to him in this episode. He's fine. He's absolutely fine. I knew I was going to turn Matty off. Matty loves Leo like no other. I love Leo in Lethal Weapon 2. I remember loving him in Lethal Weapon 4. I just don't think we have enough of him in this one. It's kind of like I don't think the movie knows what to do with him. They make him a real estate broker. Then they put him in the hospital because we're got to get rid of him for a little while because we can't have him in the movie. So we're just going to toss him aside. He just is kind of doing his own shtick, but he doesn't really have a place. With that being said, Rene Russo makes her first appearance. And my God, is Rene Russo the secret sauce of Lethal Weapon 3. Like, her relationship with Riggs is honestly, this might be blasphemous. I thought it was actually almost better than Riggs and Murtaugh. Like, they just had something together, some kind of magic chemistry that made me want to see them more. I wanted to see a Riggs and Lorna movie at some point. Like, when they went off and Murtaugh was by himself and they did the whole sequence with the dog and everything else, I absolutely loved it. And so in this case, I am giving this to Lethal Weapon 3 solely for Rene Russo. Matt, do you want to bite my head off, or what do you want?
I don't. I feel like I should, but I'm too stunned to like. First off, like hearing you say what you said about Leo, the people's champion, the people's pick. Like, I love the dynamic between John and Zeus. Like, I feel like while the relationship is forced, like the chemistry isn't. At the same time, I think Zeus carries the whole movie.
Oh, interesting.
McClane doesn't really do much for me in Die Hard with a Vengeance. It's more, I'm more entertained by the character of Zeus, and I get that's where they made it as a Lethal Weapon film. So you see the Riggs and Murtaugh dynamic between them, and the band is great. And I'll be honest, I gotta include Jerry, the construction worker from Die Hard with a Vengeance, in the sidekicks, because he also helps John McClane out, and he also reminds me, Paul, you'll know this, those like older like New York City tour bus drivers. So when you go on the bus tours around Manhattan, they're like telling you every single detail of like when whatever building was built in 1950, whatever.
Kind of like Jerry, the dump truck driver from later on.
Yeah,
just throw you out there.
But like, I don't know what possessed them to go with the Guy Fieri meets Backstreet Boys look for Leo, but I respect it. I think he's like he's the ultimate sidekick. Like, do you need someone to, break up an international money laundering scheme? Leo's your man. Do you need someone to sell your house? Leo's your man. Do you need someone to take a damn bullet for you? Leo's your man. Do you need someone to find information on a housing development that's being used as part of an arms deal? Leo's your man. Like, what more could he do for you, Paul?
Russo.
What do you want?
Rene Russo beat him to it even on the home deal. She was there just as much as they were. She could have gotten to it. So they didn't really need Leo. That was all about getting Leo out of the way. The whole film.
They didn't need Leo, but he was still there.
But they're trying to get him out of the way the whole time. That's the whole thing. Not much of a sidekick. They don't want him there. And I do like him eventually. They turn around and like him in Lethal Weapon 4. But in this case, it just feels like they're just, get out of the way, Leo. I don't know what to do with you.
No. But I am agreeing with you. It's Lethal Weapon 3.
Yeah, okay.
But not because of Rene Russo. Because of Leo.
Well, you can be partially right, and that's okay. All right. Jarvi, how about you? What are you doing there? Lethal Weapon 3 or Die Hard with a Vengeance 4?
I'm going to take it one step further and say Leo gets in this one was a little bit annoying even. Wow. I think I love him in Lethal Weapon 2. I think he's one of the greatest sidekicks. First off, the hair, the worst blonde hairpiece. You can actually see that the hairpiece is like glued on. You can see the sides. Okay, that's just the look of him. But he keeps fucking up in the movie as well. He tries to sell the house. He keeps messing up. I know it's like he has kind of a comedic touch to it, but I don't know. He sort of lost his mojo in the third one. But I didn't include him in the conversation because I feel like it's all about Rene Russo versus Samuel L. Jackson. And in that one, like I'm 100% on the same page as you, PLD. I think Samuel L. Jackson did a freaking awesome job, but I think the fact that he's had so many roles now after this, like when the movie first came out, Samuel L. Jackson his role sort of felt fresher than it does now because he's done so many of these roles now.
Oh, that's interesting.
He's done a lot of that shtick that he's doing there, which still makes it a good role. But Rene Russo was like the yin to Riggs's yang. Like they were like the chemistry was there, and when they were comparing the scars, like everything, like they meshed so well together. And the fact that she's sort of this more capable female character in the Lethal Weapon, because previously when she was hooking up with the Dutch girl, right, who was sort of more the damsel in distress.
Yeah, I was saying.
Now.
I was going to say, Riggs needs someone who can take care of themselves, because obviously they can put in harm's way if you're going to be with Riggs, and at least Rene Russo can definitely take care of herself for sure.
Yeah, and she challenges him, and like you said you'd love to see Rene Russo and Martin Riggs' adventure. I think they're a little too similar to just have the two of them, so you kind of need Murtaugh in that one as well. But it's all the way Rene Russo in this one. Yeah, Lethal Weapon 3.
Fair enough.
I see PJ in the chat saying he won't stand for this Jackson slander. Bro,
oh, it's not slander. We love him.
I said he carried the whole movie. I don't know how much more praise I can give.
Yeah, and PJ actually said over Jackson. What? Well, I get it. It's fine.
I think I'm actually kind of sad that for this episode we scrapped the better hero category, because I feel like this is actually where Bruce Willis's John McClane is the most interesting.
Oh, interesting.
Type of character. Yeah, he's like, so he has more vices than he had before, sort of. So he's definitely down on his luck, more ragged, more fucked up mentally and physically. So he has a hangover throughout the entire movie. He's not this, perfect action hero.
I do find it interesting, though, that you mentioned Jackson having done a lot of these type of roles since then, because to me, it makes me wonder, like, I don't even know where I stand on this, like, because looking at it, something so many years on with a hindsight of how it's been done since then is an interesting conversation to have. I don't know if it's fair to look at it that way, but I don't know.
I know,
but I can understand why you would in a way also. So it's kind of like an interesting thing. I feel like I can't hold it against Jackson for that because it was an original thing, but I do understand why it's less entertaining to you overall because of that. I get that to a degree. It's still either way. So I love Jackson in the role. I still love Jackson's role in this. I do think it's pretty hilarious. I just went with Russo more. But all right, enough of that category. We're done with that. Let's move on to better villain. Do you want to start this one, Jarvi, since you went last time? Go ahead, Jarvi.
Die Hard 3. hands down. I mean, this is I feel like where the pattern really comes in with Lethal Weapon and Die Hard movies. Lethal Weapon usually isn't really about the villain. It's about the leads. It's about the relations. It's about the humor and the action, but it's not really about the villain. And this is very evident in this one as well. Also, Jeremy Irons' Simon is the second best Die Hard villain. I mean, he's almost as freaking good as Hans Gruber. He has sort of the same mannerisms, but he's different enough that it doesn't feel like Jeremy Irons is copying Alan
Oh, not
Rickman.
at all. No, not at all. Definitely making his own villain. And we won't bring up Andrew Guy's opinion that Simon Gruber is actually the better Gruber. We won't talk about that here. We won't acknowledge that here.
Well, better Gruber in the like when you put the character itself, like if you put two of them, so this I know where this conversation is going against. This is going against Cavill and PSH again. But when you put them up against each other, like Hans Gruber was mostly in his suit in the chair, commanding people around. Okay, he had that awesome where he was pretending to be American. But Simon is more, I don't know, he's doing more in this one. He's doing the suit thing. He's controlling everyone. He's doing the riddles. He's doing the action. He's doing the fighting. He's in his tank top facing down John McClane. He's doing more.
But Hans Gruber's charisma is just off the charts.
He's more iconic, but more capable. I'd say Simon is more capable in this movie.
Only because he's doing more. Hans didn't need to do more. That's how good Hans' plan was. Hans just had to.
Oh yeah, but you're arguing for my point at the moment.
I disagree with you entirely. Okay. All right, go with villains. So if you go talking about just villains, getting back to the actual discussion at hand with these two films, I agree. Travis is a shitty villain. We've already discussed this in a way. Simon Gruber is a far more engaging, more exciting, more fun villain than Travis ever was. Travis, and it wasn't his fault. I think it was just not written. The character wasn't written out. It was written as a caricature. They had this like basic seed of, okay, we'll have an X copy of the villain so he can have access to the LAPD weaponry and all that kind of stuff. And that sounds like a kind of a cool thing. I kind of like the idea behind it. It just doesn't go anywhere. It feels like a little bit cartoonish. It feels a little mustache twirling. I don't feel like I'm engaged with him very much at all. Even at the end when he gets a little more with him, a little more time on him, it's fine. But so far, out of all the villains we've talked about in the entire franchise battle, 1, 2, and 3, this is my least favorite villain of them all so far. Matty, what about you? I already wrote down all 3 for Die Hard 3 already, so you don't.
Yeah, I gave my vote pretty much earlier in the show.
Exactly.
Travis did absolutely nothing for me, and I want to kind of expand on Jarvi's point a little bit. I think the reason they are so different is because he knew John McClane was going to come to him. That's why he didn't have to do anything. That's why he could go off and he could do the riddles, he could do all the action and everything, while Hans was more the man in the chair. Simon could just stand back and be like, he's going to come to me eventually. I want him to come to me. He killed my brother. I want him here. So I'm going to let him do all the work, and I'm just going to sit back and do what I need to do. And he's just so damn... I love Jeremy Irons. I fucking love Jeremy Irons. Like, he's just so charismatic. I don't know how, he's one of these people, like, you don't know how he's just so damn charismatic on screen, but anytime you're on there, you're like, whoa.
Right. You know, I gotta say, it's interesting you say that though about him, because I really honestly feel like if he had gotten away, if Simon Gruber could get away with the money and not get his revenge on John McClane, I think he'd have been just fine. I think the vengeance thing was like he kind of admits it was a ploy. Like, we just want to because getting all the detectives to think this is all about John McClane when it's not at all about John McClane, is really about getting the Federal Reserve. Like, it's a great mental game. Like, they think it's about this. I'm going to make them think it's about this, but really it's just kind of it's a thing I can use to my benefit. Now, if I get the chance to kill him later on for revenge, sure. But that's the frosting on it for him. Like, if he gets away and McClane gets away scot-free, whatever. I got my money. I got to decide which country I'm going to buy. I don't have to worry about a fucking Irish flatfoot guy. So, but as he says, yeah. All right. Let's move on then to better story. Better story. I guess, Matty, you want to start this one off since you're the next one up?
Yeah. I feel like with Lethal Weapon 3, I much preferred the kind of inner workings and the how do you put it, the more personal story points over the overall thread of Jack Travis getting the guns and like doing the arms deal and stuff. That was like, okay, crooked cop turns arms dealer, cool, seen it a million times. It was the stuff, particularly with Murtaugh, like him shooting his son's friend, like shit like that. I was like, whoa, okay, that's going into an area we haven't been with Lethal Weapon. And you know, you have Murtaugh's about to retire. How does that affect Riggs? And their whole relationship, like they're trying to keep it together, but Riggs knows, you know, once Murtaugh's gone, what the hell am I gonna do? Like, I've got this family now. Once you're gone, what have I got? Am I gonna take on this kid that's following me around? You want me to deal with Leo every day without you? Hell no. But I feel like even if they had done it as either a Lethal Weapon movie, a Die Hard movie, or they just did an action movie called Simon Says, I feel like the story of Die Hard with a Vengeance stands out more to me because of the whole Simon Says, the riddle thing, and then like leading it on to the point with the Federal Reserve. I just feel like that's more innovative at the time. So I feel like that story, I don't know, that story appeals to me more.
I'm going to jump on board here because, quite frankly, I agree 110%. I feel like some of the story beats in Lethal Weapon 3 are better. For exactly what you said, that's what I was mentioning before, like how it gets to some deep shit. Like Murtaugh, his grief over killing his child's friend and his relationship with his son because of it, how he can't go home, how he goes into the bottle. And he has the great sequence at the funeral with the kid's mother and father, with the perfectly played, of course, the Boys to Men, It's Hard to Say Goodbye, which was one of the biggest songs of the time. Almost was two on the nose at the time. And that moment with Riggs getting that whole sequence where he lets it out is like so upset about the fact that he has nothing without Murtaugh's family. I think the story beats are much better. They're more emotional, more deeper. However, I agree that the full story of Die Hard with a Vengeance, with the interconnectivity, with the like how it's so intricately played, with the riddles, with the twist of it not being like that moment where the kid, he's stealing the bite and the kid's like, you could steal City Hall, and that moment of realization on Bruce Willis's face, he realizes the whole thing's a twist. I think I got to give the overall story to Die Hard 3 because I can't penalize Die Hard 3 for not wanting to go to a deep characterization. Lethal Weapon's always kind of had that. Die Hard's always been more of a popcorn action movie, and that's okay. If it's a well done, well crafted popcorn action movie, which this is, then I can say that it doesn't necessarily matter if we don't go too deep with it. And Jarvi, before we get to you, I just want to throw out there, Rufus, I'm asking if anybody's seen the alternative ending of Die Hard with a Vengeance.
No.
I did. I got to watch it on the DVD. Basically, the idea was that Jeremy Irons gets away with it. He gets away with the whole thing. And sometimes after the events, Bruce, he pins the whole thing on McClane. McClane gets used for a scapegoat for everything that went wrong. He gets like fired from the NYPD, and they even take away his pension and things like that. And he goes on this active quest and tracks down Simon years later at a bar in Hungary and ends up killing him. Like, ends up killing Simon. And it just seems such a weird, like, I'm glad they didn't do it because it was so.
I like this.
It was so not Die Hard though, because that's exactly my point.
Mm-hmm.
Die Hard is supposed to be about something happening to the everyman. John McClane is not the I'm going to track you down and kill you kind of anti-hero thing. It's not a Die Hard movie, so it doesn't fit. So I liked it as an alternative ending and for a cut ending, but I'm very glad they didn't use it as the even if Die Hard with a Vengeance's weakness is probably like the last 10 minutes of the movie, they kind of feel like they just they didn't really know how to end it in a way.
It was a dumb ending.
I think they all are dumb endings. And I don't think this was the ending to go with either, to be honest with you. So, what about you, Jared? What do you think about the better story overall?
I would have loved the alternate ending. I'll be honest. I felt like Die Hard 3 ended like 2 times, pretty much they got off the boat. They blew it up. That's where it was supposed to end. There was another helicopter chase. I don't know. It got kind of convoluted. But the overall story, I too agree that the Murtaugh storyline, where at the funeral and the way he felt the guilt killing the friend of his son, that was probably the best parts of the story in Lethal Weapon 3. And also they gave Murtaugh way more to do, because usually Riggs is sort of the character that the audience connects to. Now it's definitely both of them. They didn't take a lot away from Riggs, because he still had the Rene Russo storyline and everything else, but Murtaugh kind of was given enough and more to do in this one. But yeah, I'm totally echoing what you guys said. I think Die Hard 3 gave us a lot of mind games with the storyline now. Yep. And the freaking ruse that Simon pulled with the fact that John McClane was pretty much the decoy, the bombings were the decoy, and finally finding out that he's a Gruber as well. Like, now you kind of, the twist is coming, but the way they say it and the way it happens, like, his brother Simon Gruber, like that moment, everything's sort of coming together. I think it's and it's weird. It's kind of ironic talking about a movie that was written for Lethal Weapon, and now we're saying the story's better for Die Hard 3 because it was a Lethal Weapon movie. But yeah, you got to go with Die Hard with this one.
Perfect. Okay. All right, then let's move on to better action. Then better action. Now, Jarvi did not want to start this, so I will take this one back.
Can't decide.
Really? Okay. For me, this was still pretty clear cut. I got to be honest with you. I still think Die Hard 3 has better action overall. I love that it has more crisp action to it. I loved the explosions. A lot of the big explosions that were done, they were actually really solidly done explosions, like the subway going off the trail, the explosion beginning, the dam blowing up with the water. I love the water sequence when he's chasing down Bruce in the middle of the dump truck and he had to get thrown out and spit out in the air. I love that sequence done. Even the action, like there's action sequences in the non-action scenes, even like when they're figuring out the riddles and stuff. It still seemed like there's a tense active scene going on. I love the shootout in the vault. I loved a lot of the fights on the boat itself. There's a lot of great action pieces to it. Whereas Lethal Weapon 3 had the opening sequence, which was a negative to me because I felt like it was so over the top. It felt like a parody. Like, there's no way Riggs goes in there and like doesn't wait for the bomb squad thing. This whole thing just, I was like, you're going to risk everything because you're crazy. I know it's supposed to be, oh, yeah, Riggs is crazy, but it seems so stupid. It just seems like it's such a stupid opening. Just a waste of a bomb sequence there. And no, I got to love the Yankee Stadium scene. It's good because there's no Yankees in it, Carmichael. That's why it's the Yankee Stadium scene. Just the stadium itself. But there's a lot of great other action moments where Lethal Weapon 3, the ending action is great. That the battle at the construction yard, whatever, that's kind of some cool shit going on with the fire and everything. I love he pops the gas tank and drives the truck around, and the sets the fire up to explode the whole thing. That's freaking sweet. I love that bit. I do love all of the Rene Russo kicking ass sequences. Those are pretty cool overall. But I gotta say, I mean, besides that, the Die Hard is more consistently good action-wise because the tension is there more, I think, in the Die Hard sequences. I feel like something's going on. Like the school, one of my favorite action sequences at all, I haven't even mentioned yet, was at the Chester A. Arthur School, where you have the bomb tech, who I love that guy. He's in like two of the scenes, but he was such a great character. I'm staying. And he's like, he's doing down, he's trying to get the bomb up, and they're rushing to get the kids. They're throwing the kids on the roof and stuff like that. And then Charlie gets the pancake syrup. What is going on? It's so confusing, but it's just a great, fun action sequence. So I'm giving it to Die Hard easily for me.
And he gets excited about the bomb and the sort of ingredients, like sort of he's like, oh, this is amazing.
There you get the moment Charlie is at the police precinct. He's like, yeah, amazing stuff, really cool stuff. Little pyro that he is. This is a good character. It's a great character. I think Die Hard with a Vengeance actually gets those kind of cool characters. You have him, you have like Jerry, like I said before, the dump truck worker. Chester A. Arthur. Did you know he was a collector's order in New York? I love that guy. I'm sorry. So go ahead. Who else wants to talk about action sequences now?
Did you actually love the scene where John McClane's gets shot out of the sewer?
I did. That was fun.
That was sort of such a dumb moment, because usually Die Hard, I know it's like outrageous action, but it's usually still grounded or sort of grounded. This was
he
just
also gets
freaking
ejected out of a plane cockpit as well, so it kind of ties back in.
No, but that's a parachute. That's how you're supposed to fly out of shoot out of an airplane. I don't know. There's moments where it's the unbelievability is believable, if that makes sense. But that moment was completely out of whack to me. I don't know. He flew too high. but that moment alone, it's not gonna sort of ruin the action in Die Hard 3. But I was not a fan of the final third of the movie. Like, as I said, so on the ship, I felt like this was kind of generic what was going on, and the way the boat blew up, that was really bad sort of special effects. That you could sort of tell that it was the first bombings that happened in the city. They were done pretty well, but the final, I don't know, maybe they got tired at the end of the movie, the editing, everything. They were sort of they kind of gave up. And I'm going to argue that I loved the beginning scene in Lethal Weapon 3. I thought it was freaking so on brand. I had so much fun. This was exactly what Riggs is about. Of course, he's not going to wait for the bomb squad. That's Riggs. If he would have waited for the bomb squad, this would not be a Lethal Weapon movie. This would not be Martin Riggs. And the fact that they also save the cat, they run out, the building blows up. I mean, and it also ties into the storyline that they get demoted to being the traffic cops. So it all makes sense for a Lethal Weapon movie, in my opinion.
Does it?
It does.
Yeah,
I mean, it does.
Because they get beaten down, they get taken down to beat. First of all, they had been fired. They would have been fired. There's no doubt about it.
Sure. Demoted.
They just got demoted instead. And they got demoted for what? All like 10 minutes? Let's get a funny moment to get to see them in their beat uniforms. 10 minutes later, you're back to being detectives again.
With the guy,
not just a uniform. He had to wear a ponytail. He had the freaking rat tail right here. That was, I bet, way more demeaning than the actual uniform for him. But there was a lot of cool. I feel like Lethal Weapon 3 really pumped it up in this one, because I love the armored car sequence. Riggs throwing, like, flying around the trucks, and they very much over the top. Female police officer who's hitting on Murtaugh, so over the top, but I was laughing. Like, I was just laughing. I know it's kind of a stereotypical character that's been used in like the 90s action movies or something like that, but and also the hockey scene also, like, there was a lot of cool action set pieces, and it was diverse. I feel like the set pieces were very diverse. Usually Lethal Weapon movies, they kind of feel like I can't differentiate one action scene from the other. I feel like this one they sort of cracked the code on the action here. And I'm going with Lethal Weapon 3, although Die Hard, the first 2/3, actually like real solid action, freaking awesome Die Hard action. But the way the Lethal Weapon 3 sort of upped their action in the third one, I'm going to give it to that one.
Okay. Matty, you're going to split the bill here.
I am going to agree with Jarvi.
Wow. Okay.
Because, as I've said on previous episodes of this debate, when it comes to Lethal Weapon and Die Hard, I want bombast. I want big. I want stupid. And that starting scene, it even goes to when they are demoted. They're like, "Oh, I cut the red wire," and then they talk more. He's just like, "Yeah, well, I did cut the blue wire." He's like, "I thought you cut the red wire." No, I cut the red wire. That's what I said. And like, they keep going with it, and it becomes like this running joke. And then you have the one thing I love about the end fight between Riggs and Travis is, now in the first episode we did, I hated the last fight between him and Gary Busey.
Did you?
I hated it. I thought when I was a kid, I would watch it. I was like, yeah, they're throwing spinning kicks and they look cool. This one was just two cops getting fucking grimy, grabbing hold of each other and trying to beat the living shit out of each other, rolling on the ground, trying to kill each other. I'm like, yeah, cool. That's what I want from Crazy Gibson. Grab the guy, put him on his back, and start beating the shit out of him. That's the kind of thing I want to see. Now, I love and there was also the free fall scene I thought was pretty sweet as well. I love the elevator scene in Die Hard with a Vengeance when he asks him what the lotto numbers were, because it was the callback to
the lotto numbers things.
To every cop chooses their badge number,
right?
And the guy didn't know, and that's how he knew.
I will say, let me interject really quickly. This is, it comes to mind. Die Hard with the Vengeance did that a couple of times. They did this, like they're going to lay out something and they call back to it later on. Like very smart writing that way. In terms of they had the 6991, the badge number mentioned. They also, the one that really kind of threw me, I love it, the fact that they mentioned the dump trucks being stolen much earlier on. Like, what are your caseloads? There's a murder here. 14 dump trucks were stolen out of the whatever. And like, so somebody started a construction company. All of a sudden, in the movie, you're like, oh, the dump trucks that were stolen earlier.
I never remembered that.
Yeah, it's like little tie-ins there. They do all throughout the whole thing, so it's pretty impressive. But I'm sorry. Go ahead, Matty.
I just thought that was even though now when I see scenes like that, I just can't help but think Captain America.
Yeah, the elevator. Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's hard to do that otherwise. But
one part I think was really fucking sweet was when they drive the truck off of the bridge, and they take the guy out by swinging down. When they like first get onto the boat, I thought that was pretty sweet.
Right.
But as I say, I want bombast. When it comes to these franchises in particular, I want bombast. If I want like dark and like gritty fighting, I can go to something like The Raid to watch that. With this, I want big explosions, guns. Yeah.
All right. I'll give you that. Okay, we're kind of a close battle here. Interesting to see. So let's hit that final category as we wrap these things up. Better one-liners. I would not say it's kind of funny. There were less one-liners this time, I thought. More funny dialogue. There's still done dialogue. It's not as quick with the snaps, so to speak. Of course, we had the best, one of my favorites, the Riggs one. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say ain't going to be much. That was a good one.
Yep.
Throw out some other. Let's just throw out some other ones. That's what we did last time too. Just throw out some ones you liked and what you didn't like, and then we'll go to who we think is the better one.
The best one has to be from Riggs. We can't shoot a dog. People, okay, but not dogs. I mean, this is.
I like the when Zeus asked the Zeus steals that car. Hey, who was the 21st president? Go fuck yourself.
New York.
I love the one where they're in the hockey rink and Leo's laying there and he's like, I'm dying, Raj. I'm so cold. And Murtaugh just goes, Leo, you're laying on the ice.
I'm laying on the ice.
Oh, and also in the police precinct where he's like, where does it say that gunshot wound requires a rectal exam? Yeah, with a telescope big enough to see Venus. And then Rick just replies, well, I guess all they saw was Uranus, huh?
I like that. I was speaking to the dump truck lad earlier. He's like, what are they doing? Start a construction company? And the other guy, who is an underrated character, Joe Lambert, the other detective in Die Hard with the Vengeance, who kind of like rips on John a lot. No, it's John's landlady going to clean his apartment.
I loved when John McClane was just meeting Zeus, and he calls him Jesus or Jesus or something. Jesus, like, yeah, it's Zeus. Yeah, Zeus, as in Father Apollo, Mount Olympus. Don't fuck with me, or I'll shove a lightning bolt up your ass. Zeus.
Got a problem with that? No.
Yeah.
Speaking of the lethal weapon, similar type of thing. I like what Ernie, the detective, was like. From what I've seen of the records, the only thing they do contribute is mayhem and chaos. No, I'm chaos. He's mayhem. We're double act. What, required reading or something?
This one that I thought it was kind of funny, but I know probably shouldn't be funny, is when Zeus and John are like walking, and he's like, "Oh, you're famous for something," and he's talking about Nakatomi, and Zeus just goes, "Don't tell me, Rodney King, right?" And then John like, "Fuck you."
There's a lot of racial, like borderline racial jokes in that one.
Oh yeah, no,
there's a lot of them.
Zeus goes over the top of them. That's the whole bit of the character in a way. One of my favorite lines, is because it showcases exactly what they're like. Is when Briggs confronts Murtaugh on his boat, and he's drunk as hell, and they're fighting each other. Yeah. And he thinks that he slept with Riyadh. Murtaugh punches him out, and Riggs grabs him in the water, and the cops of the boat come like, "What are you guys doing down there? What are you boys doing down there?" And Riggs just looks at him and goes, "We're in the middle of a case.
Scotch."
They just like laugh. Like they had this big fight, this big all drawn out fight, and there they are, like best of friends, brothers, laughing it off and finishing it off. That was one of my favorite lines of the whole fucking thing.
The line that precedes the moment you're talking about is when Riggs like has, it's not a one-liner, but when Riggs sort of has this heart-to-heart to Murtaugh when he just goes like, when you retire, don't you get it? You retire us. And it talks about like, so it talks about the family, like you're the only family I've got. I've got 3 beautiful kids. I love them. They're yours. Wow. I mean, that's not just a comedic one. That's like a hard hitting, like great monologue. Not a monologue, just a line there.
I gotta tell you guys that I think we should expand this category out. And I think this should be like a staple category. A lot of fun always just quick throwing out our favorite lines of dialogue from the movie, whatever. Kind of, it's always a good way to do it. So I think we're gonna keep this going forward.
I think so too.
Not supposed to be favorite though. It's supposed to be best of something.
But favorite and best, the same type. Almost is very similar in this kind of category. I think in this category, it can be different because usually your favorites are because of the best moments and that you liked. I mean, I get that what you're saying about other categories. In this particular category, I do feel like favorite and best overlap a lot more than other categories would. But let's move on to the best. Like, let's figure out what our we have best one-liners, which is the best one-liners or dialogue in out of these two movies. I will go ahead and say I think overall I got to go with Die Hard because we did label it one-liners. We labeled it one-liners. So I have to stick with the more one-liner snappy things with more Die Hard than it was Lethal Weapon. Lethal Weapon had some of the better dialogue, but I think that he's got, like I said, very cool stuff. I'm going to go with Die Hard. Matty,
I think it's just the opposite. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. All right, go ahead, Jarvi. You started. Go ahead.
All my favorite lines from Die Hard are like conversations, like longer sentences. Lethal Weapon 3 is like pretty much just one-liners. It's the dog one. It's when Lorna Cole goes, "This is PMS. It's murder." Murtaugh goes, "Yeah, I know what you mean. I've been married 25 years." There's Martin Riggs goes at the very end, like grab his clusters when Lorna grabs a man's crutch, making Murtaugh and Riggs wins. Sort of. I feel like there's the Die Hard ones are conversational ones. Lethal Weapon, I think, has better one-liners. The Scotch one as well that you mentioned.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm going Lethal Weapon.
Okay, Matty, go ahead, finish this out.
Yeah, I agree with Jarvi. Like they're more like snappier one-line. A one-liner to me is a quote you can put on a T-shirt. Something you could sell as merchandise. And I feel like Lethal Weapon has more of those. Die Hard 3 definitely has them. I just feel like Lethal Weapon has more.
All right, that's fair. Interesting. Which means, folks, that we are done. We are totally done with this. And
this is a close one.
Well, you know what? I got to throw this one up there real quick.
This is a close one.
Ryan's got a good one there too. That's true. We'll be back to pick up in 15 minutes. Take your time. I expect to be dead in 4. And actually, you know what I want to throw out there too? I want to throw one more out there. I loved the whole, like, obviously, Sam Jackson has told his nephew or whatever his kid this a billion times. They're like back and forth. Who are you? We are doing this. Why are you going to school? To get educated. Why? Because we got to get better. It's back and forth. It's obviously been done so many times between them. And who don't want to help us? The white man. It's so funnily done. Like I think it's a great addition. But okay, it is. We are very close in here. The winner by a score of 8-7. 1 point. It is Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Oh, fair.
At the end of the day, if we had given a snap judgment, I would pick Die Hard with a Vengeance as the better overall movie.
For sure.
So I'm glad it actually worked out that way. I did not expect it to be quite this close. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you win by a sweep or if you win by 1 point. The winner, Ed's champion, is Die Hard.
I saw Matty smirk when we were edging close to the final category because him and I both went Lethal Weapon. And I knew that Matty was going Lethal Weapon again. And I think he knew that I was going Lethal Weapon. So I think that smirk was, Holy shit!
It's
Lethal
gonna be
Weapon
close.
3 is gonna actually take
It was like if you, Jarvi, if you had been in the same room as me, I feel like we would have been like looking at each other
Yep.
like, let's do this. Let's pick this up a little bit for Lethal Weapon. It's getting a bit too close.
Which
But-
means, though, Die Hard is now winning the series battle 2-1.
2-1.
So we have one movie left at this point because we do have technically speaking, there is, I think, a fifth Die Hard movie, which we don't really talk about. We don't have a fifth Lethal Weapon movie to combat it. So next week's battle between Live Free or Die Hard and Lethal Weapon 4 is the last battle for now.
And can I say, I must admit there will be a smidgen of bias next week because Lethal Weapon 4 has the US debut of a childhood hero of mine. So expect bloodshed next week because
okay.
I feel like it's gonna be pretty tight.
But you know what? The funny thing is, talking about villains, what a villain battle this is because you got Jet Li versus
Against Cobb Vanth.
Cobb Vanth, him at the elephant.
Sorry, no contest. We'll get there next week, but
There's a contest for me, I'll tell you that much, because I love me some Timothy Olyphant. So,
who doesn't?
especially in this movie. So we'll get there, though.
And it's not just him. It's not just him. He has a very cool henchwoman.
Yes, he does. That's very true.
Mhm.
That's very true.
I'm gonna
TJ's
say
always had-
something that's because that's in the past now. Live Free or Die Hard was my favorite Die Hard movie for like 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it
PJ
was.
saying
It
it's the best
actually
sequel.
was.
PJ saying it's the best.
It
of the Die Hard
was.
sequels. Interesting.
Pass.
Interesting. I'm actually very much looking forward because this is actually a battle where I definitely love both movies quite a bit. And so I can't wait to get there. But that's it for now, folks. If you want to join us and talk further, patreon.com/PLD Project, you can join to find folks like us, Allison Salamone, Brandon Buckingham, Brady Parker, Jeff Alterman, John Lastrina, and Partash Dason, amongst others. We thank you guys so much. Couldn't do it without you. You help us keep the lights on, so we appreciate that. And you can join us on PLD Projects. We are on a trail. We're on a fire-blazing trail. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers. It's a modest goal. So let's. The more you could help us out with that, we'd be greatly appreciative. If this is your first time here, hit that like, hit that subscribe, comment. Let us know what you want to see more of. We have some great content on here. We have class action every week. We already told you next week's battle: Lethal Weapon 4 versus Live Free or Die Hard. Two mediocre white dudes on film coming out Thursday. We are finishing out the Final Destination saga, and you know what? Since we are here, I'll spoil something from Two Mediocre White Dudes on a Film. We announced it. Our next series we're going through, Lethal Weapon. We're going to go through Lethal Weapon. So I can't wait to talk to you guys about that. I've talked to PJ about that. We're going to go through all four in depth of the Lethal Weapon movies. I'm excited. Beyond that, we also have Crown Jewels, my journey through Queen, every song on the Queen catalog. This week's is Now I'm Here, a rocking track from Sheer Heart Attack. And finally, tomorrow, you'll see Matty Gunner and I in episode 2 of Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast, as we dive deep into the Bad Batch, episode 3 from tonight, as well as some news, rumors, and more. It should be very, very exciting. And I will say on air, Ryan, yes, I got your DVD. I watched it, and we'll talk about it soon.
Please, can we do one on Place Beyond the Pines? I love that movie.
I did. I just saw it the first time this week.
Put it up against Drive, or could we do Drive versus Place Beyond the Pines? Because it's both. There's some driving in both. There's some stunt driving in both.
Yes.
There's Ryan in both.
There is. We could. We'll talk about it.
But they're still so different.
All right. We'll put in the bank for more. We can't do it next. We have our next one. We have the next class action series as well. Not series, but class action episode already picked out, ready to go. We won't announce that one here. But Matty, where can the folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Matty Gunner, Instagram Matty_Gunner. You can find my band Mourner. That's Mourner. on all streaming services and at Morna Band everywhere. And you can find me here every Tuesday with these two fine gentlemen for Class Action, and with this guy on Wednesdays for Holy Snokes, talking about Star Wars. It's fun. Good time.
Ooh. All right, Richard, where can the folks find you?
On Facebook and Instagram at Richard-Erik with a K, Jarvi, and not on Twitter, but definitely on Letterboxd.
There you go. Nice. Me as well. At Paul_Denuzio on Twitter. You can also find me on Letterboxd. And yeah, you can find me here every week, every 4 times a week. Maybe a 5th show coming soon, which I'm not quite ready to announce yet. I need some artwork from Jacob Patrick before I announce it completely. But yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you so much. Justice has been served. And what am I supposed to say, Matty? What's I'm supposed to say, Jarvi? What's that final thing?
Say it. Say it.
I don't remember what it is. What is it? You can say it this time. I'll let you say it.
I banged the gavel.
I know, but you
I
say
banged
it.
it.
Bang. You say it and bang
bang
it. Do the whole thing. Justice has been served.
Court is adjourned.
Thank you.